Hey everyone, this is Gabrielle Johnson with Best Life Dog Services, and I wanted to take a minute to talk about management. Management, this conversation is going to be relevant for anyone who is experiencing unwanted behaviors with their dog or unwanted situations, stressful events. Any behavior modification plan is going to start with a solid management plan. So a management plan prevents rehearsals of unwanted behaviors. It prevents negative associations from strengthening. It prevents stress responses, maladaptive stress responses, harmful stress responses, and it keeps everyone safe. So we can put a management protocol into place, no matter what behavior we're looking at that is causing stress or is causing a problem. So for example, we might use management around walks for a dog that has a hard time when they see a distraction on walks, other dogs, people, bikes, cars. So what we can do in that situation is determine how far away the dog can be before they have that overreaction and not get any closer than that. That might mean walking at a different time of day, walking in a different neighborhood. It might mean doing U-turns when you see those distractions. It can even mean taking a break from walks. If your dog is having a really hard time with multiple triggers, or for whatever reason you're struggling to craft walks that are a positive experience for you and your dog, a safe experience for you and your dog, then it's okay to take a break. And get that mental enrichment elsewhere while you work on being able to take stress-free walks with your dog. We might put a management protocol around a dog experiencing separation anxiety or isolation distress. So in that situation, we would prevent the dog from being in situations that they can't handle yet. So for a lot of dogs with experiencing separation anxiety behaviors and experiencing that stress when left alone, we'll come up with a plan so that the dog does not have to be left alone while this problem is addressed, while we address the separation anxiety stress with desensitization. We might put a management plan into place around reactions inside of the house. So when we're looking at our behavior modification plan, we want to identify all of the stressors in the dog's life, because none of the unwanted behaviors or the stress responses that the dog is showing happen in a vacuum. And so if my primary concern is that my dog is reacting to strangers when they see a stranger out on a walk, but my dog is also barking at strangers or barking towards the outside of the house when they hear or see a stranger outside, I need to address that as well. And so we want to make kind of a list of all of our dog's stressors. Some common ones are reactions from inside the house to sights or sounds outside, reactions from the yard, noise sensitivity, are some really common ones. So we want to identify where even smaller stressors might be and put some management around those stressors. So we might play calming music, like through a dog's ear from inside of the house, to help dampen some of the noises outside, while we work on noise desensitization so that the dog can handle hearing those noises in a real life situation without having that stress response. Or we might say this management is sustainable in the long term for us, and you can have a management protocol that prevents the stress and not necessarily address the behavior directly, depending on what it is, depending on the individual dog's needs, depending on the environment in which the dog lives, and based on society's needs and the family's needs, of course. We might let's do another example of a management protocol. We might have management around jumping on the visitors for an excited puppy. So while we teach the puppy to do something else, probably in practice sessions that are broken down so that it's not quite as exciting as when a visitor comes into the house, how do we manage those real life situations in the meantime while the puppy is learning what they're supposed to do instead? How do we prevent them from practicing the unwanted behavior, from it becoming more and more ingrained, right? The more they practice it, the more ingrained it becomes. How do we prevent negative associations from strengthening, right? So the puppy that's a little nervous, and so they run in and they don't know what to do, so they're kind of barking and jumping and nervous and running away and coming back. How do we prevent them from kind of getting stuck in that behavior and spiraling up, getting more nervous? So we might use baby gates or a crate or leashes. In a lot of these examples, on the walks with the visitors, having your high value treats nearby to reinforce desirable behaviors, to engage your dog in some activities like pattern games or scatter feeds, or some engage disengage, can be really helpful. Now, most management has a chance of failure at some point or another. In some situations, you're more likely to have a management failure than others. So it's always important that we're assessing the risk. The risk of a management failure for a puppy that is jumping on the company might be a lot different than the risk associated with a management failure for a dog who bites strangers, for example. And so we want to say, when we have a management failure, how do we reduce the negative impact? How do we prevent the negative association from some excited dogs behind me? How do we prevent that negative association from becoming stronger? How do we keep everyone safe? How do we minimize the damage? And so having some high value treats to distract in those situations can be really helpful as well. Often taking distance. Remember that when your dog is in an over threshold state of mind, they are responding emotionally. They are not in a state where learning can take place. Comfort your scared dog. Science says to comfort your scared dog, and just get them out of that situation. Help them to calm down. Our goal in the event of a management failure is to just minimize the damage. So to recap, if you are experiencing an unwanted behavior or a stressful situation, the first step is to figure out how to prevent that from happening. What can you change to prevent that from happening, to reset the stage proactively before there's a problem, to prevent negative associations from being formed, unwanted behaviors from being practiced, to keep stress levels low, and to keep everyone around you safe. If you need help with that, I'm always happy to offer some ideas around specific management needs, or if you need someone to help you with a behavior modification plan from start to finish, I am always happy to talk with folks about that as well. So this has been my first video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new or got some ideas that can help you and your dog live a less stressful life together. And I hope that you are staying warm. Have a great day, friends.